To tell you what is JSP, let me tell you that writing servlet is difficult because, see here, we have yesterday written session application. In session application, what we have done is, we have written HTML inside out.println statement. See, I have done HTML tags inside out.println statement. HTML tags, every HTML tag should have a closing tag and again double quotes, etc. etc. So, to write these HTML tags inside Java code, we yesterday felt that it was difficult to write it, right? The IDE will not give any support for doing such like that, and if there are any syntax mistakes, some of you are not getting proper outputs also, if you are not ending tags correctly or somehow. So writing HTML inside Java was difficult. Now the idea is, in any page, if you see the output of any dynamic page, most of the part will be static. Some contents, all the contents will not be changing for every time. So in a big page, if you see, only some small part of the page will be dynamic, right? So why do we use servlet? For generating dynamic response, right? So the idea is now, why to write HTML inside Java? We can write Java, if we can write Java code inside HTML, it will be easy for us to type also, right? So with that idea, they developed another specification called JSP, Java Server Pages. JSP file is nothing but a HTML file with extension .jsp. But in that JSP file, we can write Java code also, right? So now what I'll do is I'll just create a simple JSP page and then execute it. Then I'll show what is happening in the background. Okay, for demonstrating, I'm just creating a new application, JSP, new dynamic web projects, JSP demo. Here, outside WebIn, if I am writing a new JSP, welcome, I am writing welcome.jsp. The extension is j.jsp. Next, finish. It is some code is automatically generated. I am deleting everything for explaining you from scratch. Now what I will do is I will just write hello to all Accenturites. Are you not Accenturites? Now I will give a request for this JSP. Right click on this JSP, run as. Okay. Where is this JSP? Oh, where did I create this JSP? Settings. Okay. I think it got created somewhere else. I should create the JSP inside web content. Again, I am creating a new JSP inside web content. Welcome.jsp. Hello to all. Okay, I will not write Accenturites now. Right click on JSP and then I am saying run as run on server. Yeah, I should be getting the output. See, I gave a request to welcome.jsp, I got the output, hello to all, whatever type. It's very simple. But now in this case, there is no dynamic content, is it? Everything is static content. I could have done it by writing welcome.html also. Instead of writing welcome.jsp, I could have written welcome.html also. Okay, we didn't see much difference. But I will write Java code also inside slowly. Before we go ahead with Java code, we need to understand how this output is coming. When I give a request, how this output is coming. Okay, one thing, I don't want to use a browser which is already present in Eclipse. This browser which is present in Eclipse is not so good. So I want to change the browser first of all. Go to Window, Browser. Here I am seeing Firefox. Is not showing for you, then we'll go to window preferences. Go to window preferences, then here web browser is there. Here you can select Firefox. You don't, okay, if you have Firefox installed on your machine, you will be seeing it. Or you take the Internet Explorer. Internet Explorer is there? Yeah, take the Internet Explorer. Okay. Now again run on server. You will be seeing the output on browser, external browser. Oh. I'll just stop it and start it again. It's coming again here only. Let me check again. Use external browser I selected. Now I selected apply. Okay. Now I'll run on server. And now I got the output on Firefox. Okay, I want it to be Internet Explorer. Window preferences, Internet Explorer. Now I'll get it on Internet Explorer. Okay, I'm getting the output on Internet Explorer. Now I'll explain you what is happening. See here, I gave a request to welcome.jsp. Tell me, whenever I give a request from the browser, the request will go to web container, right? True or false? Whenever I give a request from browser, first the request will reach web container or web server? Web server. So see the diagram now. I'll just draw the diagram. See now, in this scenario, from browser I gave a request like this. First, the request comes to web server, Tomcat. Inside Tomcat, web server, it will come to web server, right? Now web server will see whether there is any static file. Is it dynamic file or static file, JS file? Static or dynamic? Yes, we are keeping it outside, right? Whatever is outside WebINF can be seen by web server, true or false? Yes, we can. Whatever kept inside web server can be seen by web server, right? So web server will see the JSP file. Whenever web server will see the extension as .jsp, what it will do is, it will not, before forwarding it to web container, what it will do is, it will handle the request to JSP container. So the request will now go from web server to JSP container. What the JSP container will do is, it will translate welcome.jsp to welcome_jsp.java. See, it will translate like this. It will translate welcome.jsp to welcome_jsp.java. This is done by Tomcat. Inside Tomcat, the JSP container, what it will do? It will read the JSP file. It will convert the JSP file to a Java file. By reading this, it will convert. It will write it. And this JSP file is will be internally implementing servlet interface. So this class is nothing but a servlet. So what the JSP container is doing is, it is converting a .jsp file to a servlet. So the job of JSP container is to convert the JSP to servlet. So whenever request comes to web server for a JSP file, the request will be forwarded to JSP container. The JSP container, what it will do, it will convert the JSP to servlet, and this servlet, this .java file, right? It will be compiled. .class file will be generated, and that .class file is nothing but servlet class. That .class file will be given to web container. The JSP container will give the .class file to web container, and web container knows how to execute servlets. So it will execute that welcome_jsp.class just like an ordinary servlet, right? So what is the role of a JSP container? Role of a JSP container is to translate JSP to servlet. So finally JSP is also a servlet internally, right? But why should we write servlets? Are servlet or why should I write JSPs? Are JSPs not slower than servlets? See, whenever I give a request, JSP has to be first translated to servlet, then executed as servlet. So don't you think that whenever I give a request for JSP it is slow than giving a direct request to servlet? Yes, it is slow. But you need to understand that this translation process, converting JSP to servlet, will happen only for the first time. Whenever you give a first request, this translation will happen. From second time, already servlet class is generated, so the same servlet class will be used. So only for the first request, the conversion of JSP to Java will take place. First request will be a bit slow, and from second request it is as fast as the servlet. But what is the advantage I gain? In JSP, I can write Java code. So what was the main aim for writing JSPs? But for inventing JSPs, we don't want to write HTML inside Java. We want to write Java code inside HTML page. So it will be easy for us to write Java code inside HTML page. So for making a developer life easy, JSP was invented. But internally, this JSP is converted to servlet. All the concepts of servlets we learned till now are exactly same for JSP, right? We need to understand some syntaxes on how to write the JSP now. The concepts are all same. Everything whatever we learned in servlets. Okay, now let us try to understand how this conversion is happening and how Tomcat is converting, how this welcome.jsp is converted to Java, right? Okay, now see here, I'll show you how it is converting. Go to your Tomcat folder. Okay, just see here. Inside my Tomcat, this is my Tomcat folder. Inside it, web apps. This is the place where all web applications are kept. Right, all the web applications should be kept here. And there is another folder called work. This is a temporary folder which is used by Tomcat, where it will store all temporary files, all the generated Java files, all the converted JSP files will be stored inside this work directory. And inside work there is Catalina. What is Catalina? Till now I didn't tell what is Catalina. Catalina is a name given to the servlet container inside Tomcat. There are various servers. Like Tomcat is only one of the server available in the market. Catalina is just a name given to the servlet container by Tomcat. Like if you go with another server called WebLogic, in WebLogic they have a different name, JBoss and WebSphere. And tell me other servers, you know, Borland server. Borland also is having a server. So like there are a lot of servers. For Tomcat, they named it as Catalina. Okay, inside work folder, there is a folder called Catalina. Inside it localhost. Here, if your application is having any JSP files, here there will be a folder for your project, right? Okay, now let me explain you clearly. This is the Tomcat which my Eclipse is using. See here, this is the I have configured Tomcat here. I double click on it and show you the runtime environment. My Tomcat is pointing to see installation interface, the same. But Eclipse is using internally plugins. There is a plugin for Eclipse which is used by, there is a plugin for Tomcat which is used by Eclipse. That's why we are able to run Tomcat inside Eclipse, right? So when we are using Eclipse, the applications are not deployed into this Tomcat folder. Applications are not deployed here. They are deployed at some other locations. I will show you the location. For knowing it, first we have to go to workspace. This is our workspace in C Java training. This is our workspace which we created. Inside that you will see a .metadata folder. What is metadata? You know, right? Data about something is called. So all the data about Eclipse, whatever Eclipse requires, the temporary files, etc., everything will be kept inside metadata folder. Inside .metadata, you go to plugins. All the plugin information will be present here. Inside plugins, see there are a lot of folders. Each folder is having some plugin details. And there is a server from the down, fourth one, eclipse.wst.server.core. Okay, r.eclipse.wst.server.core. I'll go inside it, and inside it there is tmp0, temporary folder, tmp0. Inside it, see again I have work folder, and I have WTP WebEx. Inside this folder you can see your application. So Tomcat, the Eclipse, is deploying your applications inside this folder because Eclipse is using plugins, right? This is your application JSP demo. See, welcome.jsp is there or not? The directory structure is same or not? As I said, welcome web in class as lib web.xml, right? So Eclipse will be deploying your applications inside this folder. Okay, again coming back, here you see work folder, similar to the work folder in Tomcat. This is the place where Tomcat will be keeping all the temporary locations, temporary files. So inside work again I have Catalina, localhost. See JSP demo, there is a file, there is a folder called JSP demo, and here I have a folder called arg, is a package, arg.apache.jsp. I have welcome_jsp.java. I told that Tomcat will be converting welcome.jsp to welcome_jsp.java. This is the Java file. I'll just open it for your reference. We need not see this file also, but just to understand. See here, welcome_jsp is a class, and there is some lot of code which we need not understand. I'll tell you whatever is required for us to understand. So I just want you to know that internally Tomcat is converting your JSP to a Java file, and this Java file is internally implementing servlet interface. See here, welcome_jsp extends some file, right? This file is internally implementing servlet interface, so this is servlet class, right? So finally a JSP is also a servlet. Now we'll try to understand slowly how this conversion will happen, right? So if you need to understand how this conversion will happen, we need to see the API first. Okay, I'll explain slowly. I'll just open the API first. So this is my Java EE API, JE API. Just see here now. In which package is servlet present? Tell me. Java x.servlet package. See, I'm going to Java x.servlet package. So servlet is an interface, as you know already, right? There are some sub interfaces. You can see all known sub interfaces. JSP page is a sub interface, right? Okay, JSP page. According to JSP specification, just like servlet was a specification, implementation of servlet specification is what? Servlet container. Implementation of JSP specification is what? JSP container, right? So according to JSP specification, if JSP container is translating any JSP file to servlet, that translated servlet should implement this interface. If a servlet is implementing JSP page, see JSP page is extending servlet, so indirectly it is a servlet. So according to JSP specification, the translated file should implement JSP page interface. Okay. And see here, there are some two methods inside JSP pages interface called JSP init and JSP destroy. Okay, I'll come back again, but let me show you here. Again, there is a sub interface. HTTP JSP page, particular to HTTP protocol, right? Just like we have generic servlet and HTTP servlet. HTTP servlet is having some methods particular to HTTP, like do, get, do, post. Get and post are particular to HTTP protocol, right? So that's why we have HTTP servlet corresponding to HTTP protocol. Similarly, we have JSP page and HTTP JSP page, right? So this is also an interface again. HTTP JSP page is an interface. It is extending. So can I say like this? If any class is implementing HTTP JSP page, It is indirectly implementing JSP page, and JSP page is extending servlet, so it is indirectly implementing. Okay. Now let me list down all the important methods in all these interfaces. I'll just save it. Okay, new. See here. This is a first interface is servlet interface. I'll just write servlet here. Servlet interface is having three important methods. You know the lifecycle methods of servlet? Tell me. Init, service, and destroy. Init, which is taking servlet config, and service, which is taking servlet request, comma servlet response. Okay, and the third method is destroy method. These are the three important methods present in servlet. Okay, it went out. Okay, fine. Now JSP page is an interface which is extending servlet interface. So I'll just write here JSP page. And here inside JSP page there are two methods, important methods. JSP init and JSP destroy. See, I'll show you again JSP page interface. This is JSP page interface. It is having two methods, JSP init, JSP destroy, right? And see here again, subclass of JSP page is HTTP JSP page. There is only one method. What is it? Underscore JSP service. Underscore is present. So I'll write another thing. Another interface is which is extending is HTTP JSP page. It is having only one method, underscore JSP service, which is taking HTTP server request and response. Request comma response server simply. Okay. So JSP page is extending servlet and HTTP JSP page is extending JSP page. What when Tomcat is implementing JSP specification also, right? Implementation of JSP specification is JSP candidate. So what they did is they wrote a class implementing HTTP JSP page. Okay, that class name they named it as HTTP JSP base. This is a class. HTTP JSP base. Okay, it is implementing. Okay, I am not using the exact UML diagram here because the image paint is not having exact icons. We will have exact icons. I need to fetch it again. Okay, HTTP JSP base is implementing. So this HTTP JSP page is particular to Tomcat. I am now explaining about Tomcat so that once you understand about how Tomcat is implementing, we can assume similarly for other servers also. So HTTP JSP base should implement all these methods or not? Yes. So now I just tell you how these implementations are present. Okay. And my welcome underscore JSP.java, I wrote a file called welcome.jsp. Welcome.jsp is what I wrote. It is converted to welcome underscore JSP.java like this, right? If you see welcome underscore JSP.java, is extending HTTP JSP base, right? So if you see this diagram again, can you say that welcome underscore JSP is indirectly implementing servlet interface? Okay. Now let me explain you how this HTTP JSP base is implemented. Okay, to be very clear, what I'll do is I'll write here the class welcome underscore JSP according to our example. Welcome underscore JSP. This is a class which is extending HTTP JSP base, right? Now let me tell you how this HTTP JSP base is implemented so that you will understand very clearly. JSP will be very easy. JSP will be very easy for you if you understand how it is working. If you understand this hierarchy, the rest all JSP concepts will look simple to you. Okay, some shock. Okay. I'll just write a pseudocode for HTTP JSP base. JSP base. HTTP JSP base. If you assume that this is a class definition, it should give body for all these methods, right? Okay. See, it is having a method called JSP init. It should provide body for JSP init method. It is actually not having anything. And again there is again JSP destroy. This is also not having anything. Just dummy empty bodies. JSP init and JSP destroy in this class are empty bodies. Okay. Now these two are empty bodies. JSP init and JSP destroy. These two are empty. Okay. These two are empty. Now it will try. Let us see the implementation of init method here. HTTP JSP base is having a private variable, private servlet config. Okay, see here the init method is like this, init, which is taking servlet config as parameter. Here the init method will be like this. This dot config is equals to, then this init method is internally calling this JSP init. Okay. Now again the method, see there is another method called underscore JSP service, right? See, underscore JSP service is abstract inside HTTP JSP base. Abstract underscore JSP service. It's abstract. It's taking request and response. And see here service method implementation. Service method. Which method here? This service method which is present in servlet interface. It's taking servlet request and servlet response. Right? What the service method is doing is, it is internally calling underscore JSP service. Okay. Now this is how roughly how JSP base is implemented. Right? Now tell me, welcome underscore JSP.java. Is it extending HTTP JSP base? So all those methods are inherited inside my welcome underscore JSP.java. Right? It is servlet. Now what I told, if I give a request to a JSP page, I give a request to JSP page, the request will first come to okay, just let me show you here quickly. The request will come to web server. Web server will forward to JSP container. JSP container is translating welcome.jsp to welcome underscore JSP.java, and then giving this, compiling it, generating .class file. Then this .class file is executed by web container, right? For a web container, this is also nothing but a servlet, right? A first request came for a servlet. What the container will do for the first request? It will try to initialize. So as I told earlier, container will always call the methods present in servlet interface. So tell me, container will call which method? This init method, which is taking servlet config. What is it internally doing? It is internally calling. So this JSP is actually dummy method here. If you want to write any initialization code inside your JSP, what you can do is you can override it. I will show you how to override this JSP init method. So if somebody asks you what is the initialization method for JSP, not init method, it is JSP init, right? Is container calling directly JSP init? No, container is not calling JSP init. Container does not know about JSP init also. Container knows only the methods present in servlet interface. It always calls this init method, is internally calling this init method, right? So when the servlet is destroying, before the servlet gets destroyed, which method will the servlet container call? Destroy method, right? Destroy method is internally calling JSP destroy, right? And whenever new request comes, container calls which method? Service method, right? The service method is calling underscore service. So now tell me the life cycle of a JSP. Init service destroy or JSP init underscore JSP service JSP destroy. What is it? A, B answer. A, init service destroy, or B, JSP init underscore JSP service JSP destroy. First one or second one? Exactly, of course, first one is correct answer. But when I ask, especially for JSP, whenever I ask, it should be JSP init is the initialization method, underscore JSP service, and JSP destroy. So life cycle of a JSP is JSP init underscore JSP service JSP destroy. But life cycle of a servlet is init service destroy. Right? Clear? So now you got how the flow is going on inside the servlet, inside the converted servlet, right? Okay, once you know this, now see the generated code. I told, see here, inside, this is a code inside HTTP JSP base, I told, right? Inside HTTP JSP base, I told underscore JSP service is abstract, right? Welcome underscore JSP.java, the converted file, should implement this abstract class, abstract method. See the generated code now. Here is the implementation of underscore JSP, right? So when your new request comes, this is the code which is getting executed inside JSP. Yes. So you need not understand, as of now you need not understand. There is some code here, up to this you don't understand as of now. Is this the message which I wrote inside my JSP? See, in my .jsp file, hello to all I wrote, right? Whatever I wrote, the plain text inside my JSP, in the translated servlet, it is coming as an argument to out.write inside underscore JSP service, right? So what the JSP did is, it has just read the JSP, welcome.jsp, and it has automatically written .java file. If it finds any static code, any normal code other than Java code, it will directly write it as an argument to out.write after these lines. These lines are always common for all the converted JSP. Up to these lines are common. Here is what my code came, whatever I wrote inside my JSP. Okay. Okay. Now I'll change my JSP. Let us see what will happen. I'll change hello to all BR, and then I'll say JSP is very easy. Now I will give a request. I'll just refresh it. Tell me whether this JSP will be again translated or not. No? I told JSP will be translated only once, right? Let us see whether it will be again. Refreshing again. I am refreshing. I'm getting hello to all only. Did I save it? Yeah, I saved it. Is my server running? Oh, stop. See, my server stopped. Once I refresh my browser, why is it not showing page not found? Yes, even the server is stopped. I refreshed it. Browser is showing whatever it is having inside its cache. Browser will be caching the pages inside temporarily. So now we are seeing output in the cache. So don't believe the browser. So whenever you are not getting expected output, what you do is you clear the cache and then refresh it. Okay? Okay, now what I'll do is I'll just start the server. Then refresh it. See, now I am getting hello to all. JSP is very easy. That means that JSP is again translated. But I told that JSP will be translated only once. Now let us try to understand the logic behind it. Why the JSP got translated again? Okay, again I'll show you the converted file. See, this file is changed. You can see hello to all. We are /r/n is for new line. JSP is very easy. Whatever I wrote, the plain text is coming as an argument to out dot right here. Very simple conversion, right? Now what I want to do is I want to write from Java code inside my JSP file. To write a Java code, we have to write the Java code inside a tag like this. This tag is called as a scriptlet. Scriptlet. I'll just remove all of this. This is a tag which should be used for writing Java code, and this is called as scriptlet. Scriptlet tag. Okay. So how I write Java code? What I want to do here is I just want to print the current date on my system, right? So here I'll write like this: java.util.date d is equals to new java.util.date. This is a package. Java.util is a package. I am creating a date object, and I'll write out.println d. So this is Java code which I wrote inside my servlet for JSP. I'll just refresh the browser. See, I got the date Wednesday, June 1st, 2024. Now let us see the translated Java code. See, are these not the two lines which I wrote inside my JSP? So whatever I write inside a scriptlet tag are directly coming inside the underscore JSP method. Plain text is coming as an argument to out.write, but Java code is directly getting copied here, right? This is a rough idea about how translation is happening from JSP to servlet. Okay, any doubts? So we understood that to write Java code inside JSP, we have to use a tag called scriptlet tag. But now if you have observed, when writing Java code inside scriptlet tag, I am using out directly. Is that? Generally if you are writing any Java code, you have to declare the variable called out. What is out type? I didn't declare a variable out also. Like if you see in my servlet, I said response.getWriter, out is equals to response.getWriter. I declared the variable. But here I am directly using the variable without declaring it. Why? Because see, whatever Java code I am writing here in scriptlet, see the generated code, it is coming here, right? Right? If you see the underscore JSP service which is automatically generated, there is some already existing code. Inside underscore JSP service, there is a variable called out of type JSP writer which is already declared. JSP writer is a subclass of print writer. So you can use it just like a print writer only. Okay? So this variable is declared and it is also initialized with out is equal to something. Right? So out has been initialized also, declared here and also initialized here. And after this code which is automatically written, then our code is coming here. My code, whatever I wrote inside my scriptlet tag just got copied here. Then this .java file is compiled. So before compilation, Out is declared above it? Yes. So that's why I can use out variable directly inside my JSP page. Right? So I need not declare out variable, I can directly use it, right? So if I can use a variable without declaring it, that means that this variable is implicitly available inside a JSP. Implicit. We did not explicitly declare the variable out, it is implicitly declared inside a JSP. So out is called an implicit variable, or out is called an implicit object. Right? Out is a variable or object. So out is an implicit object. Means in JSP we need not declare out variable. Similarly, if you see in the generated JSP code, there are some other variables also along with out. Out is declared here. Along with out, there are some other variables also declared here. Right? So all the variables which are declared here are implicitly available. All these variables like config, application, session, everything can be directly used inside my JSP, because my JSP code, whatever I write, will come starting from here. Before that, these are declared, so I can use all these without declaring inside my JSP. These are called as implicit objects. Now let me list out all the implicit objects which are available to JSP. See, this request is a local variable, so I can use request also inside my JSP, response also inside my JSP. I can say this request and response also as local variable should underscore JSP service. As they are coming before our code comes, our code is coming from here. As it is coming, as they are declared before this code, I can use them directly inside my JSP, right? So I'll just list out all the variables. I'll just see. First one is request. Request object can be used directly. It's of type what? HTTP servlet request. Request is a variable of type HTTP servlet request. Response is of type HTTP servlet. So I just list down quickly. Request, response, page context. I'll explain what is page context next. You know about request and response. I'll explain about page context. Page context. 1 minute. Page context, then session. Session is of type what? HTTP session. In a servlet, if I want to get a session object, what I need to do? Request.get session. But in a JSP, I can directly use it. See, if I press Control space here, it is showing all the objects are implicitly available. Session is already available. I need not even declare session also. So for a JSP page, that by default session is started. Right, session object can be directly used. So session is also another implicit object. Okay, let's next. What else? Application. Application is of type servlet. Context. So if you want servlet context in your JSP, you can directly use a variable called application. Application. Then next, config. Config is of type servlet config. Out is of type JSP writers. Config and out. How many totally? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 implicit objects are there, right? And also, you see here page. You see here. What is missing? Page. Here there is a variable of type page, which is pointing to current object, the servlet page. So page. How many implicit objects totally? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So in a JSP, 8 implicit objects are present. Means these all objects can be used directly without declaring them. If I want to use session object in servlet, what I need to do? Request.get session. I will store it in session variable. But in JSP, I can directly use this variable session. Right? In servlet, if I want servlet context object, what I need to do? I need to call get servlet context method. It will return me a servlet context object. Here directly I can use application. Similarly, in servlet, if I want servlet config, I need to call get servlet config. But in JSP, I can use config. Out also I can use. Right? So these all are the implicit objects available in the JSP. We can use them without declaring. Very important. Remember it. Now, I need to explain something about page context. Tell me, what is a servlet context? Servlet context is an object which is created servlet context is available to all servlets. But what all information does this servlet context contain? All the information present in web.xml is contained inside servlet context. Can I say that servlet context knows about all the servlets in the application?
Yes.
Or can I simply put in another way, servlet context knows everything about the application? Yes. So servlet context knows everything about the application. See, the name servlet context, they gave a very bad name to this servlet context. To be very meaningful, I feel that application context should be the name of this servlet context. So, if I name servlet context application context, I can say application context knows about the whole application. That could have been meaningful. But the name is given somehow as servlet context. Remember now, servlet context is an object which knows about the whole application. Right? Better it could have been named as application context. It could have been meaningful. Now, with this information, tell me what is page context? Servlet context knows about all application. Page context knows about all the pages. So, page context is an object which has all the information about the whole page. Whatever objects present inside the JSP page are known to page context. So, again I am telling you the analogy. Servlet context knows about the whole application, all the servlets, etc. All the servlet context is an object which is created by reading the whole web.xml. So we say that servlet context knows about the whole application. Right? Similarly, page context knows about the whole page. Okay? Now, see here, page context is declared here and page context is initialized here automatically, right? This is some code which is automatically written by Tomcat, right? This is some internal code. Somehow page context is initialized. Right? We need not worry about how it is initialized. Somehow container has initialized the page context here, right? Now page context knows about everything about the page. See now, how am I initializing application? Application is of what type? Application is of what type? Servlet context. As I told, page context knows about everything. So page context dot get servlet context is giving a reference of application because page context knows has a reference of application. So page context dot get servlet context I am initializing with it is initialized application is initialized with page context dot get servlet context. Similarly, see here config is of what type? Servlet config. It is also initialized by the use of page context. Page context knows about everything, every object. Similarly, session also is initialized with page context dot get session and out also is initialized with get out. So like this, by using page context, all the implicit objects are initialized, right? This is the very basics which I want you to understand. The next concept here, if you see my Java code, date class is present in a package called java.util. Generally, if I am writing a servlet, what I will do, I will write an import statement on the top and I will declare date directly. But now I have to declare in my JSP I am declaring java.util.date. 2 times I have used date, 2 times I have write java.util.date, right? So what I want is I don't want to write java.util.date. I just wanted to say date, right? But will it agree? See, it's giving a compilation error because I want to declare without using java.util. So here it is giving error. So now what I want to tell is, who is translating this JSP to servlet? JSP container. JSP container is also called as JSP translator or JSP engine. Servlet container is also called as servlet engine. There are a lot of names. Servlet container, servlet engine, web container, all are same. JSP engine, JSP translator, JSP container, all are same. So now, who is translating JSP engine or JSP translator is translating JSP to servlet. Now, when this JSP translator is translating, I want to give some information to JSP translator saying, write this import statement on the top, because whatever I write inside scriptlet tag is going inside underscore JSP service method, right? Now I want to give a hint to JSP translator to write an import statement on the top, right? So that the JSP translator can write an import statement. So to give a hint, giving a hint means I am guiding the translator or I am directing the translator, JSP translator means I am telling the JSP translator how to translate, right? So if you want to give some directings to JSP translator, you have to use another tag called JSP directive tag. JSP directive tag looks like this. This is scriptlet tag. If you use @ this is nothing but JSP directive tag. This is JSP directive tag. See, what is the purpose of directive tag? To direct the JSP translator or to guide the JSP translator or JSP container how to translate, right? So this is a directive tag. Now see, in JSP there are 3 types of directive tags. Okay, first directive tag I am using here. On the top I am writing, this is a scriptlet tag. At means it is a directive tag, and there are 3 types of directive. Page is one of the directive. Okay, and here in page, giving space in page, what I'll do is import is equals to java.util.star or java.util.date also I can use. So if I want to write an import statement, I can use a directive called page, which will tell how to translate this page, which will direct how this page can be translated, right? Here now error also is gone. Previously it was showing error before I wrote this import statement. Now error also is gone. Now I will just refresh the JSP page. Output is same, but let us see the translation. Yeah, the file has been modified. Yes. See now, here this is the one. It's not java.util.date now. It is just date. If you see the imports, in the import statement, java.util.star which I wrote has been added, right? So to import anything, if you want to write import statement, you have to write like this. You have to use a directive called page. So we have seen 2 types of tags. One is scriptlet tag and second one is directive tag, right? And directives are of 3 types. Why we have understood only one type of directive till now, page directive. Okay. Now suppose if I want to import some other class also, some other package also, what I can do is I can use comma separated, comma, suppose I say java dot SQL dot star. I have written comma separated. Here is a comma. Okay. Now I will just give a request. Let us see. Oh, it's saying an error. What is it saying? Huh? Yeah. So it is saying java.sql dot, suppose if I say connection, Why it gave error was in java.util package there is a date and java.sql also there is a date. Okay, now I'll just import simply. Now I'll give a refresh. See, now the translated file change. I'll see import statement is already written. So if you want to write import statements, this is a way. How many implicit objects are there by default? 8. Session is also an implicit object, true or false? Means by default session is started in a JSP. Even if I don't say request or get session, session is started, right? Now what I want is I don't want a session object to be available to this JSP. So there is an alternative. See here, in page I will say session is equals to, by default what is the value? True. Now I'll say session is equals to false. Okay, the output will be same. I'll just refresh it. Output is same now, but let us see the translated page. Yeah. Now see here, is there an implicit object called session now? No, previously there was session here. Now there is no implicit object called session. So how many implicit objects are there for this page now? Only 7. By default 8, but you can disable session. If you are not using session object, why to enable it? You can disable it like this. Session is equals to. Okay. Any doubts? Now, what I will do is I will just write a spelling mistake. Spelling mistake. Tell me, if I give a request, I will refresh it. Is this JSP translated into .java file? Okay, I got an error. That's fine. But now my question is this .jsp, welcome.jsp translated into .java file? Yes? Sure? But I didn't get output. Yes, now see the generated file. Here also DATE is removed, right? So page is translated, but while compiling it gave an error. Now see the console, see the browser also, it's clearly saying unable to compile the class for JSP. Okay. Now I have a doubt. I told JSP will be translated only once, but whenever I change a JSP file, it is getting translated again. Right? So we need to understand when the JSP will be translated and when it will not be translated. Right? Now without changing, if I just refresh, okay, if I just refresh, I got the file. Now it has been translated again. See, if it is translated, see, I am getting yes. If I do load the latest files. Okay. Now if I refresh, will it translate again? No. So you need to understand the concept. And let us assume that I'll open a new thing. Let us assume that I have written welcome.jsp. This is welcome.jsp file. And I created welcome.jsp file at a time called 11:13. The time stamp of this file is 11:13. At 11:13 AM, this file got created. Okay. I will give a request for welcome.jsp at 11:15. Let's assume. So, whenever I give a first request, .class file, .java file will be created and .class file also will be created. So welcome_jsp.java will be created when I give a first request. welcome_jsp.class. I am interested in only class files. .class file will be created at 11:15. If I give a first request at 11:15 am, the dot class file is created, right? Okay. Now I'll give a second request at 11:16, right? Whenever I give a request, the request will first go to JSP container. Now the JSP container has to decide whether to retranslate it or use the existing dot class file, right? So whenever it has to take a decision, what it will do? It will check the timestamps. Timestamp of JSP is less than timestamp of dot class file. What does it mean? Which is created first? JSP is created first. Means the JSP is not modified after translation, right? Okay. So if the timestamp of JSP is less than the timestamp of dot class file, that means that JSP file is not modified, right? Suppose I'll modify the JSP file and at around 17 am I modified it. At 11:17 am I modified it. Okay. Timestamp of dot class is 11:15. I modified. So now again I am giving a request to welcome.jsp. The request will come to JSP container. The JSP container has to decide now whether to retranslate it or not. What it will do is to compare timestamps. Timestamp of JSP file is greater than timestamp of dot class file. Means which is the latest file? JSP file. So JSP file has been modified. So container detected that it has been modified. So what it will do? It will again retranslate it. Now the timestamp again will be whatever time. Suppose if I gave it at 11:18, now the timestamp will be 11:18 am, right? Translate. So now what you understood is, whenever you modify your JSP file, automatically it will be translated. You need not redeploy your application. Okay? But if you modify your servlet class, you have to redeploy. Any dot class file, if you modify, you have to redeploy your application. If you modify any JSP file, you need not redeploy your application. Again, if I have to explain it deeply, you need to understand about class loaders, etc., etc. I will not be explaining all class loaders and all. Just remember, if you modify .jsp file, no need to redeploy. If you modify dot class file, any dot class file, you need to redeploy your application. Otherwise, the latest changes will not be picked up. Okay? To explain about, you need to understand about how the class is loaded by class loaders, etc. We are not doing it. But just remember, if you modify servers, you need to redeploy. If you modify JSP, you need not redeploy it. Okay. Once you understood that, now instead of writing two lines here, creating a data object and out.println, I want to use another tag. There is another tag here. If you want to write something, what you can do is you can use another tag called expression tag. The expression tag looks like this. This is the expression tag. I'll just write it here. This is expression tag. This is the third tag which we are learning. What is the use of expression tag? See here, in expression tag, what I will do is I will directly write new date. Okay. Now I will save it and refresh it. See, I got date printed 2 times, right? Now let us see the Java code, generated Java code. See, this is the one which I wrote inside the scriptlets, and this is the one which I wrote inside the expression. So what you understood? Whatever I write inside expression tag is coming as an argument to out.print. Out.print. Whatever I write inside scriptlet is directly copied here, but whatever I write inside expression tag is coming inside out.print. So if I want to print something directly without any logic also, I can just use expression tags. Now tell me, should I keep semicolon here? Because every Java statement should end with a semicolon, right? If I keep semicolon, let us see what will happen. It's giving an error, but let me just refresh it. It's giving a compilation error. If you see the generated code, you can observe the semicolon also is coming inside out.print. So whatever you write inside expression tag will be coming just copied here inside out.print. So inside expression tag, don't use semicolons. Okay. Any doubts? Now, I have another requirement. How do you initialize a servlet? How do you initialize a servlet? Tell me. By writing init method. So now I want to write initialization code for a JSP. JSP is also nothing but a servlet. So when the JSP is initialized, I want some code to get executed. So what can I do here? What I can do, if I write something inside scriptlet tag Java code, it is going inside underscore JSP service. No, I cannot write initialization code inside scriptlet tag. If I want something to come outside of the underscore JSP service, whatever I write inside scriptlet tag is going inside underscore JSP service. But I want to write a method. So what I can do, suppose if I write something like this, public void, what is the method for initialization? No, in JSP init. If I write something like this code will be copied inside underscore JSP service. Let me save it and refresh it. It's a compilation error, of course, but see the code, generated code. See, this is a method declaration inside a method called underscore JSP service. So to write a method inside the generated servlet, I should not do it inside scriptlet tag, right? So if you want to write a method, you use another tag with exclamation here. This is called as JSP declaration tag. So I'll just write a method here. Now let us try to understand how this will be translated. Declaration tag. Whatever I write inside declaration tag will go outside underscore JSP service and inside class definition. Now let me just refresh it and show you the Java code, generated Java code. Yeah, now output is coming, but now see the generated Java code. JSP init went outside underscore JSP service and inside class, right? So I told if you want to initialize your JSP, you have to keep it under a method called JSP init, right? Any doubts? This is how to initialize. How do you write a destruction code? Yeah, inside the same declaration tag, I can write another method called JSP destroy and write whatever I want to write. Okay. So there are 4 tags. Finally, let me finalize. This is expression tag. So 4 types of tags finally in JSP: scriptlet tag, expression tag, scriptlet tag, directive tag, expression. I will try to print something in JSP init out.println. Hello. Why is this giving compilation error? Here I use out, no compilation error. Here I use out, compilation error. What is it saying? Okay, I'll keep the cursor also here. Yes, whatever I write inside declaration tag will go outside underscore JSP service. Where is out inside it? See the code. Out, is it a local variable? Local variable declared inside underscore JSP service. So you cannot use implicit objects inside declaration tag, correct? Implicit objects can be used only inside a scriptlet tag. Previously we have written session application using servlets. In my session app, what I did, my first page is ask name.html. It will ask for name. This is a HTML page. Once I submitted, it is going to ask city, servlet. Inside servlet, what am I doing? I am writing the Java code out.println and writing the HTML, right? In this servlet, if you see, which is the dynamic code? Only these 3 lines is what I see as dynamic code. Other lines are just printing HTMLs, right? So will it not be even better if I can write the same session application using JSPs? Instead of writing this code inside servlet, I can write it inside a JSP. Okay. Then again coming back, once I press submit here, where is it going? See, what is the URL here? Ask country. It's going to ask country servlet. Here in ask country servlet, here also again all HTMLs except these lines, right? So now what I want you to do is, I want you to write the same session application using all JSPs without using a single servlet, right? Okay, servlet is very difficult to write. That is the reason why they introduced JSP. Now I want you to write the same application in JSP. Do it. I'm going to create a new project. Session using JSP. Session app using JSP. Next, finish. So first file I'll copy. The first file is what? Ask name.html. I'll copy as it is. See, this is the HTML file, the initial file ask city, ask name. And what I want is, I don't want it to be HTML, I want it to be JSP. Press F2. F2 means rename. Instead of extension .html, I can use .jsp. Okay? Even though this file is not having any dynamic code, only static code, HTML code only, nothing dynamic, still I can make it .jsp. But is it really required? It is better if I keep it .html, right? Okay, right now let us continue with .jsp. I want to modify this program later. I'll modify it. I want all of them to be JSPs. So first page ask name.jsp is ready. So now I will create a file called askcity.jsp. New JSP, askcity.jsp, finish. So I'll delete everything, whatever is present here, and then copy paste whatever is present in askName.html. Okay. See here, askcity.jsp, what it should ask? It should ask for city. I'm changing here. And once I submit, it should ask for country. Ask country.jsp should be the next URL, right? session. Once I submit, I am getting request parameter called uname. I need to save it inside a session. Alright. Okay, so here I will write Java code here inside a scriptlet tag. This is scriptlet tag. Request.get parameter. Request is an implicit object, so I am directly using request.get parameter. The parameter name is what? Tell me. Once I submit, I am getting uname as a parameter. String name is equals to, I got the request parameter, then I have to set it in session. Session is an implicit object, so session dot set attribute. Attribute name, I'll set it as a name, comma, the variable of the name. That's all. Do I need to do any other logic here? See, once a request comes, I am setting the request param, I am setting name inside session, printing it, over. Right? Any other things required? Anything missing here? Nothing is missing, right? Okay. The next page is what? Ask country.jsp. I'll create new JSP. Ask country.jsp. So now I'll copy everything from ask city.jsp and paste it here. Okay. Now tell me, what is the request parameter? When am I coming to ask country? If I submit this, I am coming to ask country, right? What is the request parameter? City. So I need to change here. Request parameter name is city. I'll change this also to be meaningful. City, and the session attribute name is city, the variable city. And here, once I submit, it should ask for country, right? So instead of city, I'll write country, name is equals to country. And here, once I submit, where it should go? It should go to display.jsp. Display.jsp. That's all. Over ask country.jsp is over. Now, once I submit, what I want to do, I want to display all city, name and country. So I'll write display.jsp, new JSP, display. I'll delete everything. So now I need to write Java code here. Scriptlet. Okay, what I want to display? I want to display name, right? Name is present as an attribute in session, right? So can I use like this? Expression tag, right? I just want to print whatever is present on session. Name is present in session. Session dot get attribute, attribute name. What is the name of the attribute? Name of the attribute in session is name. So session dot get attribute. Okay. Then similarly, I will write BR here. City, the attribute name is city. But tell me, when are we coming to display.jsp? Once I submit city, country, right? Once I click on this, I am going to display.jsp. So for display.jsp, country is a request parameter. It is not present in session. It is present, it's coming as a request parameter. So see how I will display it. BR country. Again the expression tag request dot get parameter name is country. That's all done. Now let me run this ask name.jsp first and show you whether it is working or not. Yes, name. Tell me a name. Huh? Yeah. SIR. Sin, okay. City. Huh? Bangalore. Bangalore only. Bangalore. Country. Pakistan. Why Bangladesh? Pakistan is our favorite. I'm going to introduce the next requirement. If you see the pages here, all the pages are directly asking for something, next button. Asking for something, city, next button. Asking for name, city, but next button, right? If you go to any website like Yahoo or Google, all the pages will be looking same or not, similar or not. On the top we will be having a logo, headers. In the bottom we will be having some copyright information, the footer, right? So now what I want is I want all the pages to look same. On the top I want a header, on the bottom I want a footer, right? Generally headers will be some image files. How do you include image in your HTML file? Image src is equals to, if you have a JPG file or anything, you can include, right? So now what I want to do is inside all these pages I want to include header on the top. Okay. What I could do is here I can use TRTDs to divide the whole page into parts, or I can use divs to divide the whole HTML page into parts. Okay, I will not go into much of it. Now, instead of displaying image, to be very simple here, I want to simply display, here, this is header part. Actually, I could have written image tag also here. To be very simple, I am writing this is header part. And at the bottom, what I want to do is, I want to show this is footer part. Okay. So in the header I can generally include a logo or some image, and in footer I can include some copyright information, etc. Right. Now just let me refresh this page. Ask name.jsp now. See, I'm getting this is header, this is footer. Okay. So on the bottom of every page I want this is footer, and on the top I want header part, right? So every page should look like same. Generally in real applications we will be including logos here in the header part, right? So now in Ask City also I want it to be same. So what I do is I will just copy paste. Don't do it for now. I'll change it later. Just see the concept. I just copy paste the body here, and also I'll copy paste the footer here. Now see, Ask City.jsp also will be looking same. Similarly, I will copy paste in all the other pages. This is header. On the top of the body I'm pasting, this is header. In the bottom I'm pasting. So now see, here also I'm pasting, this is header, and at the bottom I'm pasting, this is footer. Okay, now I'll run the same application. See, first page, this is header, footer, right? In between it is asking for name. Okay, tell me another name now. Mohit. Who is Mohit? Okay, Mohit. Okay. See, my next page also is looking same. City is asking for city, but looking similar. City of Mohit, Delhi. Country?
Nepal.
Nepal. See? Again, okay, I missed a BR here. Okay, otherwise every page is looking same. Now the concept is, generally in header we will be using images, right? In all the pages I want to change the header part. I want to say this is, instead of saying this is header, I want to write my company name inside the header. Accenture I want to say. So I have designed 100 pages like this. Okay, I have designed 100 pages with header and footer, hardcode header and footer always in all the JSP pages. Then I decided I want to change my header part. So now, at how many places should I change this? In all the pages. In all the pages I should go. I should remove this is header part and write Accenture. 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 Is it not redundant work? So I want to eliminate the redundant work. So now what I want to do is, I want to write a separate file called header.jsp. To avoid redundancy, what I will do is, I want to write a separate file, new JSP, header.jsp, and I will write whatever header information I want to write. This is header. Okay. Now, will it not be good if I can include the content of header.jsp here? Right? So, for including the contents of one JSP file inside other JSP files, there is a tag. What is this tag called? Scriptlet tag. What is this called? Directive. I told there are three types of directives. The second type of directive is include directive. For including one file inside other, you have to use this directive. Just wait, I will just close and open it again. See, include directive, include, and we have to specify the file name. File is equals to what? Header.jsp, right? So now what I can do is, I can include this file in all the other JSPs. In askcity.jsp also, instead of hard coding whatever I want, I will include the file. In ask country also, I will include the file. In display also, right? So what advantage I gain? Include directive. What you will do is, it will include the contents of that file, header.jsp inside this file, right? Just like we are including in servlets, request dispatcher.include, right? This will include the contents of that file server. Now what is the advantage again? Tomorrow, my company changed, company name changed. Accenture decided to change their company name. So Accenture, generally, let's assume previously it was Accenture. What is the caption for Accenture? Huh? High performance delivered, right? High performance delivered. Okay. So now this was the earlier content. Now we will just refresh the pages. Let us see what will happen. See now, header part, Accenture, high performance delivered. This was the header right now. Now I decided to change the caption. Low performance delivered. No? Okay. Greater, highest, what is more than highest? Ultimate performance delivered. Okay. So I changed it. So now see, if I refresh, will it reflect in all the other pages? See, it reflected in name.jsp. Now I'll submit. in ask city also ultimate performance delivered, right? In all the other pages reflected. So I can, if there is any change, I can change only header.jsp. I need not change all the places, right? So if you want some common things to be displayed in many of the pages, what you can do, you can write in a separate page and then include it in every page by using include directive. As the name says, directive, it is directing the JSP translator to include the contents of header.jsp inside this file, right? See, include directive is one way of including. There is another way also in JSP. Now I will use footer.jsp and use that another way. I will declare another file called footer.jsp. I will just write this is footer content. Okay. Now I want this to be included in all other files. I'll open ask name.jsp first. Instead of hard coding footer, what I want to do is I want to include. You know, one way of including is to use include directive. The another way is like this. JSP colon include. There is a tag called JSP colon include where page is equals to, you can specify footer.jsp. Okay. So this is another way of including. There is a small difference between using this include directive and JSP include. Let me discuss the difference. See, this include directive is called as static include and this JSP colon include is called as dynamic include. Why I am calling it as static include and why I am calling this as dynamic include? Let me explain. See now, you need to understand the translation process. Suppose if I give a request for ask name.jsp, let's assume now I showed you timestamps here earlier. Yeah, now let's assume that I am giving a request to ask name.jsp. See, this is the ask name.jsp. First I will show you. This is ask name.jsp. I created, let's assume that I created ask name.jsp at 12:22 p.m. Okay, I gave a request to ask name. Okay, and also I will just represent header.jsp. This is header.jsp. And let's assume that I created this header.jsp at 12:20 p.m. See here, in ask name.jsp I have included header.jsp by using include directive. Header.jsp is created at 12:20 p.m. and ask name.jsp is created at 12:22 p.m. Okay. Now I am giving a request to ask name.jsp first. At 12:25 p.m. I am giving a request. So dot class file will be generated for ask name.jsp, right? It will be converted to servlet. So let's assume that this is a converted servlet. Its name is ask name underscore JSP dot class. The timestamp for this will be at 12:25 I am giving. Timestamp will be 12:25 p.m. Right? See, when it is getting translated, when askName.jsp is getting translated to dot class file, in askName.jsp I have included header.jsp by using which tag? Include directive, right? The meaning of include directive is before this askName.jsp is translated, the code inside ask this header.jsp will be copied inside it, then translated. right? The code inside header.jsp is copied first, then translated. Now tell me, header.jsp, is it translated to servlet or not? Header.jsp, I gave a request to ask.jsp only. Will the dot class file be generated for header.jsp or not? No, it is not created. See the mechanism, what is happening. If I am using include directive, if I am using include directive, the meaning is first the contents of header.jsp are copied here, then translated. Only copying. So header.jsp will not be generated. Header.jsp will not be generated. Dot class file for header.jsp will not be generated. But the class file for askName_JSP class is generated, right? In askName_JSP class, the contents of header.jsp are hard coded here, right? So in this case, I can say that whenever I am using include directive, first file is included, then translated. Okay? File is included, the contents of this header.jsp are included here, then translated. You cannot see a dot class file for header.jsp in this scenario. Okay? Let me show you clearly here in plugins temp work Catalina localhost r.apache.jsp. See here, is it generated? Dot class file for ask header is it generated? No, right? Here I included footer.jsp. Now I'll just refresh it. Let me show. Ask name.jsp. I'll just refresh it. I got the output. This is footer. See the output. Footer.jsp is created, but header is created. Dot class file for header is created. No. For footer it is generated. It's a different story. I'll talk about. Whenever I am using include directive, the request is not going to header.jsp. First the contents of file are included, then translated, right? Now tell me, seeing this scenario, I am modifying header.jsp. I am modifying header.jsp. At 12:30 I modified header.jsp. Okay? The contents of header.jsp are not now modified. Now I am giving a request to ask name.jsp at 12:35. At 12:35 p.m. I am giving a request to ask name.jsp. Now tell me, will ask name.jsp be sorry. See, I didn't change ask name.jsp. It is still same. I just changed header.jsp only. Now I am giving a request to ask name.jsp. It is not modified. Will it be translated again? Timestamp of ask name.jsp is 12:22. Timestamp of ask name_jsp class is 12:25. I told you when it will be retranslated. If the timestamp of JSP is greater than dot class file, it will be retranslated, right? So it will not be retranslated. The new contents of header.jsp, are they included inside the dot class file? No. I should be seeing the old contents of header.jsp. So what you have understood, whenever you are using include directive, the contents of header.jsp in this case are first included, then translated, right? The disadvantage is if you modified the header.jsp afterwards, the new contents will not be reflected, right? This is according to servlet specification or JSP specification, right? The new contents will not be reflected according to JSP. But see here the difference now. Again, here I am using footer.jsp. While using including footer.jsp, I didn't use directly. I used JSP colon include. JSP colon include. What if I use? What this will be doing is the contents of footer.jsp are not included before translation. This will be converted into a code similar to request dispatcher.include. In servers we use request dispatcher.include, right? So this will be converted to some code similar to request dispatcher.include, right? So in the translated servlet, in the .class file, in this .class file, the contents of footer are not hard coded. They are included dynamically. Here in the hardcore, in this .class file, it will be like request dispatcher.include, right? They are not hard coded. Now, what will happen if I change the contents of footer? Whenever I give a request to askName.jsp, this will be executed, and internally it is including footer.jsp. So whenever you are using request dispatcher.include, the request will go to footer.jsp at that time, and if footer.jsp is modified, the new contents will be included, right? So what you have to understand here is, whenever you are using this include directive, you have to include only static contents. If this file does not change very frequently, then only use this include directive. If the file is changing, then don't use this one, use this one, because if you use JSP include, this file is included at runtime. This is included at before compilation time. This file is included during compilation time, this is included at runtime, right? So if you want to include any file which is changing, then use JSP include, otherwise you can use include directive according to JSP specification, right? See, JSP is a specification and Tomcat is implementing a specification, right? Tomcat people try to be very smart. They wanted to give some additional functionalities also, because in the market a lot of competition is there, a lot of servers are there. If I want to choose Tomcat only, they should provide me some extra services also, then only I will choose it, right? So Tomcat is very smart. Even though I use include directive, it will work exactly same as JSP include. Tomcat is providing that facility, but according to servlet JSP specification, whatever I told earlier is correct, but Tomcat is providing extra facility which makes us feel both are same, right? So you should not depend on Tomcat facility, right? Tomorrow if your client asks you to deploy the same application in WebLogic, WebLogic may be providing this extra facility or not. So we should always stick to JSP specification when writing our programs, right? So that is the difference which you need to understand between JSP include and include directive. I want to forward from one JSP to other. Very rarely we forward from one JSP to other, but just if you want to forward, see the syntax. If you want to forward JSP colon include, sorry, not JSP colon include, JSP colon forward page is equals to some xyz dot JSP. Now, if I give a request to askName.jsp, will I be seeing the result of xyz.jsp? Yes, let us see now. I will write a new JSP very quickly. New JSP xyz.jsp. This is xyz. Now see, I am refreshing. I am giving a request to askName.jsp, but I am seeing the contents of XYZ. Okay. Next thing, This is the way to forward. It is also forwarding dynamically. Just like JSP include is including the page dynamically, this is forwarding dynamically. Okay. Now one important thing which you need to understand is when forwarding a request from one JSP to other, you can write something called JSP param. Param name X, value something A, B, C. See now, whenever I am including one JSP page, I am using JSP param. This will be just like a request parameter in xyz.jsp. Okay. So when you are forwarding, you can include your own request parameters. Generally, who will be sending request parameters? Browser will be sending the request parameters, right? But now whenever you are forwarding, I can use a tag called JSP param. While forwarding, this will X is a request parameter with value ABC. Now in xyz.jsp, if I try to print request.get parameter X, it will print ABC. So now you need to understand, while forwarding, you can include a request parameter also to the JSP. And same case while including also. For include also I can give a body, and inside this include also I can use JSP param and give a parameter name and value. So I can access these request parameters inside the included file, right? So you need to remember, this is very, I will remove this included, I will just remove this forward right now. See here, in ask name.askcity.jsp, I am writing some Java code, right? What if exception occurs in your JSP? That is the next step. Okay? See what you have to do when exception occurs. I'll just intentionally generate an exception. String x is equals to null. And then I'll just try to say x dot if, or okay, I'll say I have got anyway name is the request parameter. If name dot equals Varun, I want to print out dot println. Just I want some logic. If name is equals to Varun, I just want to print out dot println. He is very intelligent. Okay. Now, what will happen if there is no request parameter called uname? It will cause null pointer exception. Name will be null if I don't pass any request parameter, right? Okay, let me check how it will work. I'm running first ask name.jsp. Anyway, let me check whether it started or not. Yeah, started. I'll just refresh it. Ask name.jsp. Ask name.jsp. Let me check what is that. Okay, let me not include this right now. I'll just concentrate on this one. Okay, I'll refresh it now. Okay, I'll just type some name and press next. Oh, if I type Varun, he he is very intelligent. Okay, what if I don't, if there is no such request parameter? See here, uname is equals to Varun here, right? I'll just modify, I'll type some spelling mistake, name is equals to Varun and press enter. See what is it displaying? It is displaying some exceptions stack trace. It is showing null pointer exception, right? If user gets such an exception, user is browsing to your application, user gets such exception, will he be able to understand such things? No. So it is not good to show our stack trace, exception stack trace to the user. Will it not be good if I can show some friendly message? Say there was some problem on server, please try after 1 year. Okay, you'll never come to our site. Okay, so now I want to show a friendly message. Now what I can do is, inside ask city, I will write like this. This is directive, page directive. Error page is equals to I'll say error dot JSP. Now what is the meaning of this directive? Whenever any exception occurs in this page, automatically it will be forwarded to error dot. If I am now in error dot JSP, what I can do is I can write some friendly message. Huh? Yeah. So I will write a JSP called error dot JSP. Sorry for inconvenience. Please retry after an year. This is a friendly message, right? Yeah, I am refreshing. He'll get sorry for inconvenience. Please try after an year. There is a possibility of exception in each and every page. If exception occurs in JSP, it is not good to display stack trace. You should define a error page. It should be by default shown. So you have to do like this. You have to display error page is equals to error dot JSP, right? So what is the meaning? If any exception occurs in this page, it will be forwarded to error.jsp. There you can write some friendly message, right? Now here what exception occurred? Null pointer exception, right? Null pointer exception occurred. Now what I want is, for different types of exceptions, I want to display different messages. For null pointer exception, I want to say come after 1 year. For some exception like some other things like class cast exception, I want to say never try, right? Depending upon exception, I want to display different messages, right? So I have to write if else condition inside this error message, error.jsp, right? Depending upon the exception type. If it is null pointer exception which caused this trace to be displayed, I want to show some exception. If it is something like arithmetic exception, I want to show some other message, right? So I need to write an if condition in Java code here. I want to write a scriptlet. And inside scriptlet I want to write if some condition is satisfied. See how I am doing. If some condition is satisfied, if I am writing, I want to write the condition. I want to check what type of exception is caused. So I should be able to access the exception object inside this page. So if you want exception object to be available to this JSP page, you have to declare another tag. Page is error page is equals to, by default is error page is equals to false, and if I say is error page is equals to true, I will have another extra exception See, exception is an implicit object now. Without declaring, I can use it. So exception is an implicit object. If I declare is error page is equals to true. If exception instance of, we know already now, instance of we have already used to check whether it is an instance of some class or not. If it is instance of null pointer exception, then I want to print this message. Sorry for inconvenience, please retry after a year. Okay, let's close and open it. Yeah, this is the one. Right? Else I want to display some other message, right? See how I am writing. Else I want to say never retry. Something. Okay. See how I wrote if condition. This will go as an argument to this will go directly inside it, and this will go as an argument to out.print. So this is a way you have to write combination of Java and HTML. Is it not so confusing? So this comes to a conclusion that JSP is not very good. Because if I am using JSP, the code is so confusing. See, I use triplet, I started a bracket here, then I wrote a normal tag and I ended bracket here. But JSP is very difficult to understand if I write Java code and combination of HTML. Right? I'll tell you a solution later. But now you need to understand the concept. If you say is error page is equals to true, another extra implicit object is available. What is the name of the extra implicit object? Exception. By default there are 8 implicit objects. If you make this as error page is equals to true, then there are 9 implicit objects exception. Right? Now there is a problem. I have written 100 JSP pages in my application. In each and every JSP page, there is a possibility of exception to occur. So now tell me, in each and every JSP page, do I need to write something like this? Yes? Each and every page I need to write error page is equals to. So if exception occurs, that will be displayed. Right? But now, let us assume that I want to display in my 100 JSP pages which I have in my application, I have written the first line. Okay. Later I decided, oh, now I want to display different JSP page. I don't want to display error.jsp. I want to display some xyz.jsp whenever exception occurs. So now what I need to do? I need to change in each and every 100 files. Instead of error.jsp, I should change it to something like xyz.jsp. So in 100 pages I need to make this change. It's also not good, right? Redundant change. So now there is a solution. Instead of writing this page attribute, I can go to web.xml and here I can declare, I'll just remove all unnecessary things. Here I can declare a tag error page, and here I can decide exception type java.lang. Null pointer exception, then location /error.jsp. Okay. So if null pointer exception occurs in any of the JSPs, 100 JSPs, automatically it will go to error.jsp. Or suppose I want to give like this. For arithmetic exception, I want to go to some other error exception page xyz.jsp. Like that, for whatever exceptions you can define different JSP pages. But if I want a common JSP page for all exceptions, what I can do? Instead of writing 2 error pages, I can say java.lang. exception. These are superclass of all exceptions. So if any exception occurs, this page will be displayed. So this can be used instead of using page attribute, right? So is it good to use page directive for another page? Yes, it can be used. Like for 100 pages, for 95 pages you want error.jsp to be displayed. For 5 pages you want something else to be displayed. You want to customize for your application. So we can, right? So let us assume now in web.xml I have configured error.jsp here for all exceptions, and in askcity.jsp what I will do is I will say abc.jsp. Right? Now see, now tell me the answer. If an exception occurs in this askcity.jsp, which page will be displayed? Error.jsp, abc.jsp. abc.jsp, because the local one will be, local configuration will be given the preference. That is global one. Whatever declared in web.xml is global, common for all JSP pages. But now this will override the configuration present in web.xml. Okay, that's about how to handle exceptions.